Hi all. Today's video is special for me because I'll be summarizing a book that I really liked, a very informative and very functional book that can help so many of us. I'm going to summarize that to you. I spent maybe a month reading it, maybe 1 hour of reading every day, or maybe at least 4 hours of reading every week. And I could accomplish reading this book in my busy schedule as a stay-at-home mom and YouTuber. I spent that much time to finish reading it and summarizing it. And I will be presenting all that information in a 40 to 45 minute chunk in this video. So it is a nice bargain, right? If you are going to read the book, it will take you that much time. You can get all the nice info. Not all, it may be honest, not all at all. The major gist, the major thing that helped me, that part I will be summarizing over here, and I'll be letting you know what else she touches upon in the book and what might help you. And if you can read the book, that is the best thing. Anyway, so what is this book about? It is period power. It is called Period Power, and it is about harnessing the power of your periods. Okay, so too many of us have ended up thinking that seeing periods as a curse, as in it's not fair on us that we have to suffer this, and it feels like our hormones are driving us, our lives, ruling over our lives, right? Our personalities, everything these hormones are controlling, and we kind of have developed negative attitude towards it, and we don't really look forward to the days before periods are like hell. Many of us experience PMS, and even our loved ones around us have had enough. They also face our tantrums during that time, and we just see it as a hindrance to our life, right? But this is not true. Since ancient times, this is, our menstrual cycle, it is said that, we do not know of the wisdom that it actually sends to us, right? So this book helps us meet that wisdom. This book helps us gives us techniques, gives us ways, gives us tools to tap into the power of our cycles and make our cycles work for us. Changes wherever possible, right? Now, nobody can schedule their whole calendar according to how the author has mentioned over here, but at least we can make edit it and make certain tweaks to it, tweak it a little, and help ourselves using the wisdom that has been mentioned in this book, right? So reading this book was very exciting for me because it had so many moments wherein I went like, wow, so this has been happening to me. Okay, I feel the same. This is so relatable. Okay, now let me try this. It has been that exciting to me, and I have applied the techniques, I have applied the tools that have been mentioned, and it has greatly helped me to remain sane, helped me to be my best self during all of my cycle, each stage of my cycle. I know how to manage myself, I know how to manage my life, and things are going way more smoother in my life ever since I started tracking and using the techniques that the authors mentioned. Now I want to share the gift with you through this video, right? So all I ask you is to carve out a 40 to 45 minute time from your busy schedule to watch this video. And what you can do is take a pen and paper, or even embrace technology, just your phone, just take screenshots of my presentations, the most important slides, and you can use it for your reference during the coming cycles, right? So as I already said, it's a good bargain, right? Spending hours and reading a book, all that you are saving just by watching this 45-minute video. So please watch to the end and use it, track your cycle, use the techniques, and please give me your feedback, how you feel after maybe tracking 3 or 4 cycles. Just let me know how it's working for you, right? So before I start, thank you so much, Maisie Hill, and to all those human beings who have helped her to write the book as well, right? So thank you so much for this wealth of information. It is all those rights belong rightfully to you. I am only becoming a medium to spread the wealth of info that you have given. And I'm asking my little audience also, please buy the book and read. That is the best idea, right? Yeah, so what are we waiting for? Let's start. So this is how the book cover looks, and it is titled Period Power. It's written by Maisie Hill, and it is available both in paperback as well as on Kindle, right? So published by Bloomsbury. Anyway, so who is Maisie Hill, right? She is a women's health expert, and she has over a decade of experience as a women's health practitioner and birth doula, right? She's got a BSc in Chinese medicine acupuncture and is a member of the British Acupuncture Council. Besides that, she has diplomas in reflexology, aromatherapy, pediatric acupuncture, and Arvigo techniques of Mayan abdominal therapy, or the AT-MAT. So she has, according to me, her best qualification is that she has faced severe period symptoms, especially the period abdominal pain, cramping. She has experienced the extreme form of it for quite a long phase of her life, right? So she in fact hails painkillers because it is because of them that she perhaps survived or remained sane during those years, right? But at the same time, she acknowledged the fact that it is not a long-term solution and it's not really the healthiest option. So that's why she went into all these areas, qualified herself and healed herself, right? So what helped her the most is this AT-MAT. So anybody who's facing extreme period pain like that, please look up AT-MAT, and I think it's just about some form of abdominal massaging using castor oil pack and all that. So just look it up on the net, or best read this book so that you can hear her experience and learn from it, right? So Maisie is also, quite predictably, she is all about holistic approach, right? So she has a strong interest in functional nutrition, and having apprenticed with Nicole Jardim, who's also a women's health expert who emphasizes a lot on nutrition, and is currently training with the Integrative Women's Health Institute as a health coach. And she is a go-to authority in the growing trend for women to get a handle on their menstrual cycle. So there's this whole wave called the Red Revolution, wherein women are finally recognizing that most of their struggles are linked with the menstrual cycle, right? So once you get the handle of that, our life can become easier. So she's also been quoted in different publications, both in print as well as online. And you can look her up on all these platforms, right? So the book starts with a matter that even small girls can benefit a lot from. So it starts with the explanation of the female reproductive system. Most of us don't know beyond vagina, right? But then who knew that most of us, what we think is vagina is not vagina at all, right? So there is a lot of misconceptions regarding the female reproductive system. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. So in order to clear all that, she starts with the explanation of the female reproductive system as well as its functioning. So if I had a girl child, I would prefer that she learns about her reproductive system through this book more than her school textbook, right? Because this explanation over here is very practical, functional, and even with self-explanatory diagrams, right? It's that crystal clear. So it starts with that, and the major chunk of the book is predictably for women or people who are in their bleeding years, that is, they undergo the monthly menstrual cycle. I use the term human, menstruating humans instead of women, because the author here is very passionate about gender consciousness, right? She acknowledges the fact that not all menstruating human beings identify themselves as women. So I'm following suit, and hence saying that this book is for people who experience menstruation. Okay, the major chunk of it. And there is some very helpful matter for women who are in the stages of menopause as well. Even if you are undergoing menopause or have undergone menopause, you will also benefit from reading this book, right? So, setting that aside, have you ever experienced PMS? That means premenstrual syndrome, wherein you physically and mentally kind of snap just before periods, right? So, have you experienced PMS, or have you ever felt like you're almost different persons at different stages of the cycle? Have you felt your energy levels, interests, abilities, mood for socialization, all of these differ periodically? And have you struggled with sleep or have had any hormonal issues? I'm sure most of those who are experiencing periods would have answered yes to at least 2 of these, right? Then this book is for you. It has a brilliant thing called the cycle strategy. That is the major chunk of the book, the cycle strategy, right? It is about harnessing the wisdom of your cycle, right? So using this strategy, you can manage all of these struggles and you can make your periods work for your personal, professional and mental, physical goals, right? So I love another fact about this book that she quotes for every chapter. She first quotes a saying or a quote. She gives a quote that is very powerful and very relatable, right? So what she quotes for the cycle strategy chapter is this: at her first bleed, a woman meets her power. During her bleeding years, she practices it. At menopause, she becomes it, right? So by the time it's menopause, she becomes the power. I can see that in my life so clearly that, the women in my life who have stopped menstruating, they are the most powerful souls I know, right? So it is a Native American saying and I completely agree in that. So the cycle strategy is about comparing our menstrual cycle with the seasonal cycle. So now we all know we are part of nature. We are nature, right? So maybe our body and mind, our being also follows certain rhythms just like the nature around us. So in this, we compare our bleeding days or the days of menstruation as winter. Then follows the spring, that is our post-menstruation before our ovulation, right? That stage is spring. After that, from ovulation to luteal is our summer, and from luteal to the first day of our periods, that is our autumn, right? So just like, okay, so all these phases, what they are, that means ovulation, luteal phase, all these you can just brush up your school knowledge, use in the first chapter, right, where she explains the functions of the reproductive system. So just like in nature, each season has its own bounty, its own fruits, its own vegetables, its own bounty, its own gifts. The same way it also has its own dangers, right? So just like that, even our being has its own gifts and its own dangers during each season. Now, once we decode that and adjust our schedules accordingly, wherever possible, it will be easier for us to tide through the ups and downs of our hormones, right? So, this picture, this chart is the general chart wherein hypothetically, if your body follows the textbook 28-day cycle, then this is the chart for you. But it need not be exactly this for every menstruating person. Okay, so for someone who gets PMS or who has PMDD, which is the extreme form of PMS, they may enter their autumn right after ovulation. That means they'll have only a small chunk of summer. Someone who finds their periods quite draining may have a longer winter, or someone who has a long cycle may hang out, maybe a 32 or 34 day cycle, they might hang on to in spring for a long time. So that is why it is important to track your cycle. Now you can use either some smartwatches right now have menstrual cycle tracking feature, or you can use an app. I use Clue. I mean, you can use many apps are there on phone, iOS and Android, which you can use for tracking your cycle. I personally use the Clue app and it's great. Okay. And you can also color code your modes on calendar for 3 consecutive cycles to identify your seasonal chart. So your productivity, your mood, how you feel throughout the day, color code them, give them colors, and then color code each day of your cycle. So if you do that for 3 consecutive cycles, you'll see a pattern for sure, and that will be your special seasonal cycle. So that will help you and make your life easier, right? Let's start with the most obvious season, that is winter. It has got the most clear external sign. You will be bleeding in those days, right? So it is the time where the outer world darkens, fades for you, and your inner light shines bright. It is a time for looking inwards, for rest and reflection, right? So what are the superpowers during our winter? Do we have superpower during our periods? Yes, you do, girl. So, first is you have the ability to set boundaries, because your physical being is screaming for some alone time. So that means you have the power to set boundary and set aside time for nourishing activities. Now, what are these nourishing activities? It must be restorative. That means it must reset help you build energy, right? It must be restorative, it must be pleasurable, and above all, it must be about me. That is about you yourself, right? All these nourishing activities, and it is time for rest. Okay, rest is your superpower. The more you rest during this time, the more you will be able to do during your brighter days, right? This is also a perfect time for release. Release whatever is not serving your best interest, whether it be pent up emotions, whether it be people, situations, or even beliefs that are not working for you, right? And this is also a time wherein you have huge access to your inner wisdom, right? So that is the time many of us unknowingly receive revelations, right? As in receive answers from ourselves itself, right? We ourselves will figure out answers to something that has been bothering us since a long time, or a solution to some problem, right? We ourselves will be figuring it out. It'll just come to us because we are in that hibernate mode. They say, right, the stage between wakefulness and sleep, that's the most magical state where your unconscious mind will give you answers. It is the same for you during these winter days. You are on that half sleep way, so that time, it is the perfect time to receive revelations. So for both of these, for releasing and receiving revelations, one trick that you can try is you can try free writing. Just take a piece of paper, take a pen, and simply start writing. Even if it means, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write. Slowly, you will find yourself writing just things out, random things out. And through that, you might just release what you've been, burying in you, or what has not been serving you, or what needs to come out of your system. So free writing is a great way. And is also, you might find yourself answering your own questions, right? You'll see it flowing from your hands during winter if you take out the time. Now, winter has its own dangers, because during winter, every mile is 2. 1 mile is 2 in winter, right? This is a quote by George Herbert. So what are the winter dangers? Carrying on without awareness, in a distracted manner, being disconnected to your body. If you just unconsciously, without any thought, if you just carry on your drill, that is a danger, right? And if you ignore the call to retreat, that is also a danger. And another danger is guilt, okay? Because if you didn't achieve your targets during the other seasons, if you have been lazy for that time, then you will feel guilty in the winter that now your body is not allowing you to do stuff, and if you're not able to do those stuffs, you'll feel guilty. But stay away from guilt. It has never helped anyone in human history. It has only brought people down, right? So stay away from guilt. You are human. Give yourself grace. Then if you're just rushing out instead of resting or letting your energy build and accumulate, that is also a danger. Because if you don't give your body the rest, if you don't give your body rest right now, it will not stay with you when you need it to work fast, right? So one affirmation that helps me, or that that I found on this book and that helps me during my winter, is I'm ready to let go of my expectations from myself, others, and life itself. Having expectations is what causes most disappointment in our life. So just be willing to release them, to let it go, and it lifts so much weight and burden from you that you instantly feel like free, free to rest, right? So many of us think that rest is a waste of time, but let us remember this really wise quote. Rest is not idle, it is not wasteful. Sometimes it's the most productive thing you can do for your body and soul, and that sometime for menstruating humans is definitely the bleeding days, right? So it is a quote by Erica Lane. So make rest radical. So now you might be saying, with my job and my chores, where is the time to rest? I can't rest. Think again. There are many ways to invite rest, and I will show you some of them. So nothing blooms all around the year. Why should you? So take time to hibernate, rest, recharge, and plan during your winter. Certain ways to invite rest are: take a social media retreat. We are forever consuming in this world right now, consuming in any way and every way. So whatever jokes or whatever light-hearted things that you might be seeing in your phone, it is still working out your mind, right? So take a social media retreat. You may hit the sofa with a feel-good book you've been putting off to read. You can do a 10-minute meditation. You can go to the spa. You can schedule your spa appointment or salon appointment during your winter. Or you could just lie down for some time, or observe the candle flames dancing when you light one. You can do yin yoga, which is like very slow and gentle form of yoga, wherein you just relax in a pose and stretch your body out, which is highly great for building your energy, for building you up, restoring you. You can also listen to an audiobook or podcast while lying down. You can take a long bath. You can also camp in your bedroom for the day, Ask everybody to leave your bedroom. Ask someone to serve you food in bedroom. Just camp in your bedroom for that day, for a day, right? Or you can consider babysitting for a friend during other seasons, like when you're in your summer or spring. You can for anybody who's in winter during that time, you can babysit for her, so that you can enjoy being returned the favor in your winter. Now, next comes spring. So let's get the party started. That's going to be attitude in spring. Now you're so relieved that those bleeding days are over and you are finally opening your eyes to the world, right? So what are spring superpowers? First is, it's the best time for high interval training exercises, right? So you can start going all out on those pumping exercises, right? High intensity is where you, for 10 minutes, you do like extremely high intensity exercises, and for another 5 minutes, you take complete rest. Again, 10 minutes, that sort of interval training. It is the best time for that. There are lots of options in YouTube itself for HIIT exercises, right? So spring is the time for that. Now aim for 85% chuck perfection during spring. Now it is very tempting after hibernating for 5 to 7 days. It's very tempting as soon as you enter your spring to spring back into your 100% form, but chuck that perfection if you want to keep yourself sane. Instead, go to 85% perfection. That's it. In efficiency, aim for that much only if you want to feel sane throughout your cycle. Then it is the time to risk something, mess things up, get it wrong, because you are almost entering your best self days, right? So it is okay to risk during spring. You can start something new, but don't go market your plans yet. Instead, just sow the seeds, water, plan, brainstorm, simply let the ideas grow, right? It is a time for high creativity. You kind of get a helicopter vision that you can, see the broad picture. You have a certain playfulness attitude in you, and it is a great time to binge watch or invite some play into your days. You can dream big during your spring because you find yourself to be more positive. And during that time when you can dream big, just make sure to fill your potential, learn something new, pass a test, prepare for a test and try to take the test during your spring. Fill your potential, right? Learn something. Then it is a time for good time for socialization, because you can focus on the outer world. You're in a good mood, so it's a good time to socialize. Now you can also pick something to focus during the summer. Okay, spring is not, as I said, spring is not the time to go all out on your work. Instead, you can pick something to focus, right? Now try a new plan or get back to a previously abandoned plan during spring. It's time for fresh start, in other words. Okay, just start. Anyway, what are the dangers of spring? It is expending all your energy. Like I said, if you go all out right now, right after your periods, then that is a danger. So what is the antidote for that? In terms of exercising, towards the end of spring, compensate your HIIT with restorative yoga, walks and rest, right? So in the textbook cycle, maybe from day 12 to day 14, do restorative yoga, my gentle yoga videos. Just play it and do it, and maybe go for walks, rest. Okay, so that helps you build your energy that you may have expended. If you think that you have used up a lot, right, you can just restore it during the end of spring. Now comes summer. Don't stop me now. So during summer, it's like the name itself says, you're at your most active stage of your cycle. So there are many superpowers in summer. You get an inner strength, your strength is all built. And you have the flexibility also to adjust and move with whatever life throws at you. And you can make the most out of your professional and personal lives during summer. It is an ideal time for receiving constructive feedback, right? During your autumn, if you get a feedback and it is not quite pleasant to your ears, there is a high chance that, it might result in an explosion. Because you're not feeling your best, because you're in your autumn. But in summer, you look good, you feel good, and you feel confident, feel positive. So that time, if you receive any sort of feedback, you can take it in your stride and make your improvements. Okay, so if you have the option to ask for feedback during your summer. Then this is the time when your communication skills are the best. So socialize. High feelings of pleasure are there inside you, so hopefully nothing can break that. Your athletic abilities go up. So if there's a marathon in your city, sign up on your summer. Then it is a time where you can fly through your to-do list and you feel invincible, unstoppable. And it is a time that you can be a yes woman to opportunities, right? So what are the things that you can do in summer? Early summer, do high interval training. Run an extra mile. Midsummer, shift to low impact cardio, stretching and fat burning aerobics at a pace where you can have a conversation. That means take it down a notch. Okay, your fitness plan must be this way. In your summer and spring, build fitness through HIIT and cardio, running and all. You build your fitness. But during your autumn and winter, just maintain it by sticking to restorative gentle exercises and rest. In summer, go have fun, holiday. I mean your seasonal summer. Then it is a nice time to reconnect with partner. We all grow apart from our partners in the rat race of life, right? But during your summer, every month, go back and reconnect with your partner. Have those tough conversations. Work through them with love. Go out on dates. It is a time where you can make the most of your high communication skills and work through difficult areas and get back together with love, right? So generally adopt a why not attitude. You can try out public speaking, and the most important thing during summer that you can do is you can fulfill obligations with people you don't easily get along with. Right? All of us have certain people in our lives that we do not want to lose, but at the same time, it's very difficult to get along with them, right? So our obligations with them can be fulfilled during summer. It'll be easier for us to do that on summer. So schedule those meetups then. Right? Then in summer, one important thing to do is you have to keep track of your success. In summer, you are at your best productivity level, so keep track of how much you accomplished during summer, because your inner critic is about to come out during your autumn, right? So you gotta need something to show that inner critic that, see, I did this. Okay? So caution, okay, that you must adopt during summer. What are the dangers? Feeling too visible. You might feel too visible during your summer, as in, am I going out too much? And you might end up saying yes to everything, things that you might even regret. You might waste opportunities because you have no idea what you should be doing with your life now. That's because in winter, you didn't take time to rest and relax and reflect about what your life is right now, where you need to go, what you need to do next, what have you been doing wrong. Winter was your time to reflect on all that. But if you didn't use during that time, look inside during that time, you will have no clue as to what to do in summer, right? You might get giddy. Sometimes raging hormones during summer might make it difficult for some of us to focus. We'll be in that hyper mode where we might not be able to focus on the task at hand, right? So what are the antidotes to summer's dangers? So if you feel too visible during your summer and feel guilty for that, then it might be like you're feeling a little of imposter syndrome. Like all of us have faced imposter syndrome sometime or the other. It is a syndrome, and it is, even if some people don't diagnose it, and it's not that to the degree of, where you need to be diagnosed with that name, still we kind of go through those feelings, all of us. Even if we are the most genuine person around, we might still feel like the world will see through it and find us a fake. All this is just illogical and untrue, right? If you struggle with that, you just need to tell that inner critic, fuck it, I'm just gonna see what I can get away with. It has been proven that swearing is sometimes it is good for your mental health. It somehow releases our unhealthy emotions, releases it out. So unless you are lashing it out on somebody else, it is safe to ask your inner critic to just chuck it, go away. I'm just gonna see what I can get away with, just to scare it off and not spoil our mood, right? Then if you have trouble focusing, do focused work and fast-paced bursts. That means you can either focus for 5 or 20 minutes of intense focus, whatever you can manage, and an equal rest you give yourself. Or maybe 50 to 20 minutes of focus. Or maybe you can focus intently for 15 minutes and for 20 minutes complete rest. So in those fast bursts, you can accomplish your tasks. So during these breaks, you can take nature walks or do 5 minutes of stretching, or you can sit on the porch, drink coffee, or most of us slurp it while compulsively working, which is like, you don't get the fun of drinking a coffee, nor do you do like intense work. So both those are spoiled. Instead of that, work intensely for some time and then enjoy your coffee in solitude, right? All of those breaks contribute to being able to focus better. An important note on sleep during summer. Sleep is, it's a cornerstone for your mental and physical health, right? It is just as important as your exercise and your nutrition. Sleep is just as important, right? So, and many of us women in different stages of our lives face insomnia, right? Face sleeplessness, struggle with it, right? So, in my circle itself, there is not a single woman who has not struggled with that during some or the other part of their lives. And mostly, the most common pattern for that is most women or most human beings who experience periods, they experience their sleepless nights, most of their sleepless nights during their autumn. And maybe some during the winter, but mostly their autumn, right? So to help that, what we must take care is we must take control of our sleep times during our summer. So most of us don't live in monasteries where we have the luxury of keeping a good sleep schedule. But we live in this material world where we have certain commitments come up during late nights, right? So we can afford to have late nights during our early summer. But during our mid and late summer, it is very important not to have a skewed sleep pattern, right? So what you must do is sleep and eat well during midsummer, especially because PMS or autumn, you may have to face insomnia, right? So what you must do is sleep well during your mid and late summer and up your protein intake. If you up your protein intake during your summer, especially, it will help reduce the PMS symptoms. Also, if you soak raisins overnight in saffron water and have it first thing in the morning before maybe in your autumn and during late summer and autumn, then it will reduce PMS symptoms. It will help reduce PMS symptoms as well as bloating, according to Ruchita Devekar, and it works for me, right? So autumn, that is post your ovulation and before your menstruation. So it is highway to hell. It's like it is where many of us perhaps feel our worst, even for me, I feel my worst during autumn. And while I'm having my periods, I am only I only need physical rest. But during autumn, I really need the space and, because PMS shows up and it is really highway to hell. So what are the superpowers of autumn? I was very curious to know the superpowers of autumn because I could see none before I read this book. I could see none in my autumn. So let's see. It is a time where you have access to deep thinking and inward focus. Yes, your system starts slowing down and your focus turns inwards and you become sort of a deep thinker. You get an helicopter vision where you can scrutinize, review and reconsider the work you have done. You can take a step back and approach things with fresh eyes during autumn. The decision-making skills go up. That is there. You have great insight, and it has been found scientifically that women are the most intuitive during autumn. It is a great time for doing editing and organizing work. Maybe, you can examine, take stock, get rid of what isn't working for you. Maybe, as far as housework is concerned, you can clean fridge, sort your inbox and declutter your home during autumn. You have the urge to finish projects during autumn, a natural urge. That is because your system is getting ready to just drop responsibility and cave in during your periods, which is about to come, right? And in autumn, this is very true. In autumn, we have an uncensored inner voice, right? We tend to speak in honest, straightforward way in autumn, and sometimes if you're facing PMS, it comes out it bubbles over bubbles out in a very unpleasant manner, right? right? If we can tone down and use it in a smart way, it'll be good for everything. So the author says that maybe all the anger that we end up expressing during our autumn, during PMS, is actually a result of something that had to come out and we were not letting it outside. It's actually a result of maybe overworking, or maybe something that was unfair to you. You saw it as an unfair treatment to yourself by someone else. All that bubbles out during autumn. It's not PMS or the anger that is to blame. What we need to blame is why didn't we speak it out during our summer when our communication skills were the best? We wanted to save our relationships. Well, if you don't speak it out during your summer, then your loved ones got to face it in the autumn in the bad way. So either use the uncensored inner voice smartly, or make the tough conversations in your summer, right? So think during your autumn, what do you want to say no to? Do you want to spend time alone? Speak out, use your voice. Because if you don't, these inner whispers will soon become screams in winter. You can't escape during that pre-menstrual phase, the PMS, or during the menstrual phase. If you don't at least speak up right now, this is going to get ugly. Things are going to get ugly during PMS and winter, right? So, what are the dangers of autumn? Oh, well, many. First thing is, you will probably have to face pain and catastrophe, that is disaster. If you didn't please the inner critic in spring and summer, now is payback time, because your inner critic will come out in autumn and you'll have all these doubts about yourself or your life, and you'll have to face you have to survive a lot of pain and catastrophe. You have to suffer it in your autumn. Then we might end up getting rid of something or someone important we'd rather not lose by talking out too much raw truth, right? We might overload our schedule because there is a tendency to finish things off. In that tendency, we might end up overloading our schedule. And we might end up hating on ourselves because the inner critic is outside, right? So offer yourself grace and compassion for being human. You are always a worthy being, whether you are productive or not, whether you are an achiever or not, whether you look your best or not, you are worthy just for being, right? Always remember that. So are you often struggling with the critical voice inside you? Do you have like a very harsh inner critical voice? Then you must read this book for nice tips on working with your inner critic, right? It's got some nice content. So how can you get the most out of autumn? So first of all, respect wherever you are at the moment. Don't hate on yourself, but respect yourself for how far you have come. Say no to as much overload as possible, and notice where you peak during the day, because in autumn you become that you you step down and your system starts slowing down. So notice where you are at your peak during the day and schedule your high priority tasks then. Slow and low is the mantra of autumn. So slow down and let others help. But remember, if you want them to keep helping you when in need, don't nitpick when you're being helped, and be grateful for all the help, right? Eat healthy, hydrate yourself, and get things out of your system. Dance, write without restriction, yell in solitude, right? Get things out of your system in the most harmless ways possible during autumn, because once PMS strikes, things will get ugly otherwise, right? And also do editing, but don't undo, because if your inner critic, shouts at you, you might actually end up deleting everything and undoing all your work. But don't do that. Don't go that far. Just edit, because you have got an inner wisdom during your autumn. So you can do some editing work and, finish things off as much as possible. Finish your major tasks so that, you can cave in during your period. The author has also drawn attention to the issue of postpartum and mental health, to that connection, right? Now we know that postpartum depression, we know what that is right now, and we know that it is very common now. Right? So personally, I think it was common always, but it went underreported because most women didn't know what they were facing, and they didn't acknowledge it, and they just thought it's a part and parcel of life and simply suffered in silence, right? So I feel that postpartum depression has always been there, right? So if you are planning on a baby, you must remember a fact. For sure, a statistical, scientific fact you need to remember, and I want to emphasize on it in my presentation for sure. That is, if you have experienced a mental health issue in the past, whether you have went for a treatment or not, whether some doctor has written it and labeled it for you or not, whether you have been whether you have been treated for that or not, if you inside your mind know that you have struggled mentally in some phase of your life before, then there is a 50% chance of it returning to the postpartum. Remember that. There is a high chance that you will have to face it again in a higher intensity after delivery. Right? So that is a fact that we must remember before getting pregnant. So we must know that having a child can trigger premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or the PMDD, which is the extreme form of PMS. So as a girl, if you have faced a lot of PMS and it has been tough for you, then know for sure that it can trigger the extreme form of that after having a child. But this is not to scare you from having a child. It is just so you know that before having a baby, get a support team ready and a proper care plan for not just the baby, obviously for the baby and you. And that care plan must include highly supportive people who can not just support you physically but also mentally, okay? They must contribute to your mental well-being and make you feel good instead of, the contrary. So you must have a squad ready who can help you feel good as well. In this book, the author also touches upon, not just touches, although also has written about certain special cases that women face, about certain special issues that women face and struggle with. If you're battling with PCOS or PCOD, if you are battling with thyroid issues, she also mentions a specific test that actually most tests in hospitals today are not enough or sufficient to actually get to the root of the problem. So she mentions that about whoever is facing any thyroid issue must or any mental health issue must read more about the correct way of thyroid testing, right? And then if you have facing PMS or PMDD, the extreme form, or endometriosis, if you have extreme menstrual pain, if you are someone who's battling infertility, okay, that is really a battle, and it is a brave battle that deserves a lot of compassion. And the author, the way she has treated this topic of infertility in detail, I mean, it is so compassionate. I suggest that not just who are battling with infertility, but those who have someone they know battling with it, even they should read this book, because it helps us to really step into their shoes and understand their world so that we can support them better, right? And if you are facing the decision of whether to surgically remove your uterus or not, or you have already removed your uterus, that is hysterectomy, or you have adenomyosis, or you have the issue of no periods, or even if you're facing long or heavy periods, women struggling with parenting, for human beings who are suffering with all of these or any of these, this book touches upon all these and explains it and explains the mode of treatments, what you can do to help yourself. Everything is also dealt with in this book. Please know that these are not dealt in brief but in detail in this book. So I can't go through all that, it is beyond the scope of a video. But please, if you are battling with any of these, please read the book and help yourself. So that was about the summary of period power, and I hope that it really helps you to tap into the power within you. Right? Thank you. Have a nice day. Please subscribe to my channel and support my work.